I asked the question a couple of years ago, is it selfish to want to matter, for your life to matter? Is that too much to ask? Apparently it is, because it took 6 years for Black Lives Matter, the statement, to not really be as much of a controversial statement. It's still controversial, but now it's like Garfield's Eats can say it without any real backlash. It took 6 years for it to kind of become a trend. Now it's like a lot of people don't want to feel left out by not saying Black Lives Matter, whereas a couple of years ago, people were afraid to say Black Lives Matter, which has just been interesting to see. We got to the point where companies feel obligated to say it, or else they will lose money. And I guess that's a good thing. I would rather be a kid right now understanding all these things going on with America than where I was like 6 years ago, realizing these things and looking on the internet and being like, why is nobody talking about any of this really? Like, that's how I made so many friends on Twitter, because I felt so alone at school. I felt so alone looking on YouTube because there were so many people that were completely silent. But at least now, when I get on Call of Duty, they put a message that says Black Lives Matter. When has Call of Duty ever cared about my black life? Call of Duty and me getting called the N-word while playing Call of Duty go hand in hand. It will say Black Lives Matter in a loading screen, and then the whole game is like going to a brown country and shooting people up. The NFL had the nerve to make a statement. The only time y'all were standing for something was when Colin Kaepernick was kneeling for something. If the words aren't backed by actions, I don't want to hear it. We're in the phase where it's basically like there's a monetization of Black Lives Matter, a commodification of Black Lives Matter. At this point, I'm just, I think I'm done. You know what I'm saying? People hitting me up, being like, Nathan, can you believe this? I'm like, yes. You know what? Yes, I can. Because I've got pretty numb to it at this point. We're so desensitized to Black death at this point. I don't think I've ever seen a white person, real life, die on social media and have that video be circulated on the news 100 times and just me seeing that 100 times, you know? And that's not because it doesn't happen, obviously, but it's not just put in front of our face and just circulated on the news 24/7. It's like, okay, we're spreading awareness. I feel like we're all pretty aware at this point. I'm done. If you don't get it by now, you either get it or you don't. You had 5, 6, 7 whole years to get it. Okay? You have the whole internet, all the research in the known universe at your fingertips. Okay? Are we really still trying to explain to somebody like they're 5 years old why somebody says Black Lives Matter instead of All Lives Matter, and how it's just pointing at a specific issue? Are we really still wasting our time? Are we really still explaining why Colin Kaepernick kneeled during the national anthem? Like, people are like, these rioters are making black people look bad. Are we really gonna trust the opinions of people who see a couple of black people rioting and go, well, of course they do that. They're animals. Like, that's already what they're thinking in their head. This is not gonna change whether black people do this or that. It doesn't matter. Who cares what those people think? If at this point, if you're for the movement, you're for the movement. If you're not, just move out of the way. Like, just move out of the way. Celebrities, at this point, you're either in or you're out. Like, this is the tipping point of all of this. If you're still not speaking up or whatever, I'm not gonna beg. I'm not knocking at your freaking $10 million mansion like I'm about to sell you Girl Scout cookies and asking you to speak up about injustice. Just do whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? We shouldn't have to force you to do anything. Oh, the looting is distracting from the real problem. How is the looting distracting from the real problem? The real problem is still there. The only thing you're doing is focusing on the looting more than the real problem. That's on you. That's not on anybody else. It's just crazy that this is basically the same thing that happened a couple of years ago, and a couple of years before that, and a couple of years before that. If you watch speeches from the 60s, if you watch the Black Panther Party speeches, they're asking for the same thing that we're asking for now.
We want an immediate end to police brutality and murder of black people.
The chants in the Rodney King riots are the same chants that people are using right now. It's literally the same thing is going on again and again and again. While the adrenaline is still high, we got to figure out what we're doing after this. We need to have the ideas we want for legislation to be implemented down and know that we're all fighting for this type of stuff, because right now the goal is to tire us out. They want to tire us out as usual. It's gonna happen. It's you know what I'm saying? The adrenaline eventually dies out. Like, the little black square thing on Instagram was really dumb, but It low-key shows that you can mobilize millions of people just through FOMO. If we actually need to do something important and have a lot of people shared at the exact same time, we need to do that again, but with something that actually, you know what I'm saying, is more than a black square maybe. This is how the game works, man. They come back in a couple of months and the officers don't get the convictions that they deserve to get, and then we're back out in the streets. So what are we going to do now instead of waiting for that to happen? I have links in the description of people who I feel said a lot of things more articulately than me, and links to donate and ways to help. The thing is, right now we're trapped in the same conversations, we're trapped in the same cycles, and are we going to be doing this for the rest of our lives? Are our kids going to be doing that for their whole lives? Now that everybody's on board, right? Let's try to make sure that that doesn't happen. And just a reminder for some people who are going to be done after this week and never have to think about black people again until the next time this blows up, some of you guys can do that, and the rest of us are still going to be black.